British Daily asks London to cancel US President visit, punish Washington for wrecking Iran deal Tehran. FNA, a British newspaper asked UK officials to cancel President Donald Trump's visit to Britain and join with allies to impose diplomatic and economic sanctions on Washington after the United States brought Iran deal to a deadlock. The U.S. president's torpedoing of the Iran nuclear deal on highly specious and misleading grounds is an act of wanton diplomatic vandalism fraught with dangers, as many in Tehran will see the sweeping reimposition of U.S. sanctions as a declaration of war, according to an article by The Guardian. The newspaper added that Trump has once again proved himself the master of chaos, in noting that he is no different from many of his modern predecessors, yet Trump's short-sighted folly, far from being unprecedented, is entirely consistent with a long history of similarly disastrous Middle East policy missteps by previous U.S. presidents, the Daily said, stating that the region is littered with the corpses of momentously misconceived and wrong-headed U.S. policies, spawned by the same noxious mix of ignorance and arrogance now permeating the White House. Referring to the several Washington-fomented catastrophes in the Middle East by the former U.S. presidents, the well-known Daily wrote, "No, nothing. Trump is the direct heir to the grim litany of catastrophic presidential blundering, but that is not to say Britain and Europe should tolerate yet another avoidable Middle East disaster wrought in Washington." The newspaper suggested that the European allies must undercut, circumvent and subvert Trump's attempt to wreck the Iran deal. Closer ties should be pursued with Tehran, while escalating, punitive, diplomatic and economic sanctions are leveled at Washington, and joint action should also be taken to censure the U.S. at the UN. As Trump is set to make a visit to Britain in mid-July, UK Prime Minister Theresa May can make a start by withdrawing her ill-judged invitation, according to The Guardian. It said, with his Middle East warmongering, as with his climate change denial and his other dangerous and divisive policies, Trump threatens British interests and international peace and security, adding that it is no longer enough simply to complain and condemn. The moment for active resistance has arrived. U.S. President Donald Trump announced Tuesday his decision to withdraw Washington from Iran's nuclear deal with the world powers and reimpose sanctions against Tehran, as France, Germany and Britain have for weeks been campaigning to keep the deal alive and have been negotiating since January with Washington to find ways to convince the U.S. president to keep to the accord. Shortly after the U.S. president's remarks, the European Union's diplomatic chief Federica Mogherini stressed that the bloc is determined to preserve the Iran nuclear deal, calling on the international community to preserve the agreement. UK, France and Germany have also issued a joint statement attacking the U.S. president's withdrawal from Iran nuclear deal, urging Washington not to take steps that would make life harder for other countries that still want to stick to the agreement. After U.S. President's declaration, Iranian President Hassan Rouhani said he has ordered his atomic chief to stay on alert to resume suspended nuclear activities, stressing that Tehran will stay in the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action (JCPOA) with other signatories if only other parties to the deal ensure all its interests and economic merits. While stressing that Trump's decision was a historical experience for Iran, Rouhani noted that the U.S. president has a history of undermining international treaties. Rouhani also noted that Iran would remain in the nuclear deal without the U.S. presence for the next few weeks to see results of negotiations with Europeans. Rouhani added that he has ordered the Atomic Energy Organization of Iran, AEOI, to be prepared for resuming nuclear enrichment at the industrial level. "I have ordered AEOI to go ahead with adequate preparations to resume enrichment at the industrial level without any limit," he said. He further added that from now on everything depends on Iran's national interests. Trump's decision was the beginning of a psychological war against Iran. "Our heroic people will not be affected by this psychological attack," said Rouhani. Rouhani also noted that from now on the JCPOA is between Iran and the 5 remaining countries, but stressed that Iran would stay under the deal if all its interests are met. He further noted that the Iranian Foreign Ministry would be negotiating with European countries, Russia, and China in the coming weeks. Also, Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif responded to Trump's move, referring to it as unlawful, while adding that the outcome of further diplomatic efforts will determine Iran's response. In response to U.S. persistent violations and unlawful withdrawal from the nuclear deal, as instructed by President Rouhani, I'll spearhead a diplomatic effort to examine whether remaining JCPOA participants can ensure its full benefits for Iran. Outcome will determine our response. In response to U.S. persistent violations, outcome will determine our response, he tweeted. Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei said Wednesday that Tehran will not stay under the 2015 nuclear deal if the European states don't provide the country with maximum assurances to guarantee Iran's interests after the U.S. withdrawal from the agreement. The U.S. president's shallow and ludicrous behavior wasn't unexpected. The same behavior was shown by previous U.S. presidents. Yet, the Iranian nation is persistent, while former U.S. presidents passed away and the Islamic Republic of Iran is still standing. This man's corpse will also be worms' food, one day, while the Islamic Republic of Iran is standing stronger than ever, Ayatollah Khamenei added. I don't trust these 3 EU countries either. If the government of President Rouhani wants to make a contract, they should ask for a guarantee, or else they will all do just as the U.S. did. If there's not definite guarantee, the JCPOA cannot continue, he stressed. Under the deal signed in Vienna with 6 world powers, the US, UK, France, Germany, Russia, China and the European Union, Iran scaled back its uranium enrichment program and promised not to pursue nuclear weapons. Tehran has on numerous occasions asserted that its nuclear program is merely peaceful and not meant to make nukes. In exchange, international sanctions were lifted, allowing it to sell its oil and gas worldwide. United Nations inspectors have repeatedly confirmed Tehran's compliance with the deal.